Alright everybody, welcome back! So in case you've been living under a rock, well, the Dance of Dragons dev server is here, and I'm now going to be going over every single new jet that we have seen thus far. Because it's a lot of planes, I'm going to be doing more of a general overview of each aircraft, in kind of a short time span. If you're looking for a more detailed overview, I'd recommend checking out other channels, or possibly mine later whenever I get around to making some. We're going to try and keep this nice and short so I don't have you here for half an hour. A couple quick things about the video itself. I am going to be running through this left or right nation-wise based on what you will see whenever you open up a tree. And once again, this is the dev server. Everything you see is subject to change, and everything you see will likely change to some degree when it comes to live. So we're starting off with US and with the A-10C, which comes before the AB-8B in the tech tree. If you've already used the A-10A, you'll know basically what to expect from it flat model-wise. It has the same countermeasures at 480, but it gains access to a missile approach warning system, which will be very useful when it comes to IR-guided weapons. As for the kit, you do get some pretty notable upgrades. The biggest, of course, being the addition of new laser-guided munitions. Just like these smart rockets that I've been using in the background, you get either HE or SAP ones, and for actual cast, these things are going to be pretty bad. But they are decent at killing light targets, like for example SAMs, and they're much faster than the Mavericks, and you don't have to be directly over the target like you do with the laser-guided bombs. Because let's just face it, the A-10 is not fast enough to lob these from a reasonable distance. You get a new targeting pod, which will really help when it comes to shooting stuff at range, especially with your Mavericks, and speaking of, you also get laser Mavericks as well, and the new SAP Mavericks too. The other big thing is that for air-to-air, you have AIM-9Ms, and these actually come with HMD as well now. This may change, because in real life at least, the HMD can't actually slave the AIM-9s as far as I'm aware. It's used to slave the targeting pod, but I have a feeling it'll probably come to live just like this right here. Next up, we have the F-111F, which is a couple improvements over the preceding F-111A, the biggest of which is that it now gets access to, of course, a targeting pod and guided munitions. So you can carry 6 Mavericks and then your choice of whatever else you want. Now, the targeting pod does take up the slot for the gun, and if you really want to, you can bring it with 6 AIM-9Ls like I'm doing right here for ARB, but I really would not recommend it. I'll get to that here in a second, but for ground RB, at least you get your choice of Mavericks, Paveways, the GBU-15 guided bomb, and hopefully some more stuff coming in the future, but for now, at least, pretty decent selection. As for why I probably wouldn't recommend it in ARB, it is sitting at a battle rating of 11.7, and yes, it does have much better engines, as you can see right here, than the F-111A, but it's a little bit heavier, and it still has the absolutely massive speed lead that the F-111 series as a whole has, which you can see I'm already down to 700 kilometers an hour, and the engines, no matter how good they are, really can't make up for that. So I would probably say stick to ground RB with this. Next up, we have a premium AV-8B, which right now is just an AV-8B that does not get the AIM-9Ms or AMRAMs and shows at 11.3, but in exchange it swaps the AGM-65Ds for the new laser-guided AGM-65E2s, and it does get access to those brand new JDAMs if you like those too. Next up, we have the P-16, which is coming to the German tree as a Swiss Pack Premium. I'm not going to talk much about the flat model because it very well may change, but at the moment it does seem to have pretty high speed bleed, above like 600 kilometers an hour or so. It does seem to be more focused as an attacker with a selection of bombs and rockets, which you can of course customize it however you like, but it does get the 30mm Hispanos, which have very high velocity or just overall capable guns when they don't spark, so I think it'll be pretty decent in air-to-air. It also gets some pretty sick flats, which do actually really help at lower speeds. Up next is the SE-24, which is another one of those planes that I'm not really going to talk about the flat model for right now, because I have a feeling it's not yet finished. If it comes live like this, though, it's going to be an absolute brick. Now, what it does have in exchange is an absolutely insane variety of missiles and bombs and you name it that it can carry for CAS. Like, this is ridiculous. It comes after the MiG-27, but what really interests me about this isn't the 1,500 kilogram guided bombs or the overall very nice CAS loadouts that it gets. No, it's this. Yes, it gets a gun pod that swivels and leads just like a helicopter. I can't be the only one that thinks this is hilarious, but I'm looking forward to trying to get a kill like this in ARB. The UK is getting the F-111C and it only gets 4 AIM-9Ls, though it does have more flares. It does not get access to Mavericks, just Paveways. A bit more underwhelming compared to the F-111F, and it also doesn't have the cracked engines. It only has like 10 kilogram force more than the F-111A. We finally get to the stars of the update, which is pretty clearly the Chinese tree, especially because the update is literally named after them. The J10A is looking like a very solid addition to Chinese top tier, though it is very much not finished right now. I'd be willing to bet both the flight model, the radar, and a bunch of other stuff about it is not right. Like, for example, at the moment, it doesn't even have data link channels. I'm like 99% certain this is wrong and it's going to get fixed at some point, but it just goes to show how it's just not quite done at the moment. As you can see in the background, you do get access to up to 6 PL-12s, and these are solid activator homing missiles. Like, I'd say almost comparable to the AMRAAM now after the recent buff they got. So, getting 6 of them on the aircraft, and the flat model is already better than the flankers, even before any changes that it gets, is going to make a big difference. Like, the J11A is just not it for top tier. As you saw, it's much more mediocre when it comes to CAS. It gets a whopping 2 guided bombs. Honestly, quite incredible. I would probably expect the IR missiles to change. Currently, it only gets the PL-8, which is the Python 3, of course. I think it's probably going to get the PL-8B, which is a Python 3 with IRCCM, and it was passed as, if I recall correctly, but nothing just quite yet. It's almost certainly missing countermeasures too, because right now the countermeasure load is absolutely pitiful. Like I said, I would expect the flat model to change, but it can already do some of the whack, Delta canard stuff like you can see right here, and I don't expect that to change too much. The Pakistani JF-17, or Jeff as it's commonly known, is also coming, and it's looking pretty solid as a squadron vehicle. It does get a better CAS option than the J10 with up to 4 GBUs. 4 PL-12s are solid for a 13.3, and it gets the PL-5E2, which, if I recall correctly, is supposed to have IRCCM. Currently is copy and paste PL-5C. And in the background is why I say that the flat model is very much not done. Planes just don't do that. Italy gets a Tornado, which I'm not even going to show. It's called the Tornado IDS, and it is copy and paste to the German premium one. Just it's in the tech tree now at 11.3, directly above the Tornado for some reason. I don't know why they'd add that. And Israel now gets their own F-16C. Now, unfortunately, this is not the F-16C that I would have liked to, have in the game. This is an F-16C Block 40, and my understanding is it should be slightly worse than the F-16 Block 50 in the US tree, because it has a weaker engine and is still heavier than the F-16A Block 15 that we're used to. Now, if we had the Block 30, that was supposed to have the best overall dogfighting performance out of all the F-16s, but that is probably why Gaijin is not adding it. That would have been a Barak 1, not a Barak 2. It gains access to the normal F-16C stuff like the AMRAAM and the AIM-9M, and of course it has GBUs, but it does not have any Maverick. Here's the Block 50 for comparison. Now, I will say it does have one nice advantage in that it has 60 more flares, 180 than the 120 of the F-16C. Overall, for jets, solid update, though a bit too much focus on high tier, for my liking. I would have liked more of those mid-tier jets, but hey, we'll take what we can get. If you enjoyed the video or are not subscribed already, I'd appreciate it a lot if you went ahead and hit that subscribe button, and let me know if I missed anything in the comments down below, though I think I got every vehicle, and we managed to keep it under 10 minutes, so would you look at that? But with that, I'll catch y'all next time, so peace, y'all.